All right, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Prayerfully, you can hear me. You can hear me. You can hear me. I'm glad to see you all here this evening. It is another beautiful day and a beautiful time and a wonderful, wonderful environment, right? So I basically want to open up Kodem Kol Kol Hakabo Le'yor Hakodesh Israel. Alea Chayahwa Nafshi Asa Elohai B'kabatachti Alavashal Ya'utsu Yivali. Ahwa Shiftai Tiftaku Pi Yagi Elateaka. Selah. Yes, this is a beautiful class right here. I am super happy about this class. This is something that I want to really do. It's probably going to be one of my favorite classes. I don't know if it's going to vibe with you all like that, but it's going to be one of my favorite classes, period. Okay. So basically, this class is going to be about the mitochondria, right? The mitochondria is exactly what we're going to talk about today. All right, if you're not able to chime in, please hit subscribe so that you're able to be able to chat with us on the chat. If you're not able to chat, it's totally understood. But if you do that, then you're going to get the chat. Not only that, you're going to get notified every time we go live, which will be great for you if you decide to set that as a setting in your YouTube. Okay. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move forward. The first thing I want to do, I have to play the disclaimer. I don't know if I'm doing any medical piece, so I might not have to play the disclaimer, but just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and play the disclaimer and I'll be right back.
Disclaimer. The information contained in this video is intended as an information resource only and is not to be used or relied upon for any diagnostic or treatment purposes. The video's information does not create any patient-physician relationship. Dawid Yisrael makes no representations about the accuracy or suitability of this content, as scientific and medical information updates and changes daily as more substantial information is discovered. Dawid Yisrael and any business associated during this video shall not in any event be liable for any direct or indirect damages, losses, injuries, or liability whatsoever suffered as a result of your use or misuse of this video's content. Use of this video is at the viewer's sole risk.
Go ahead.
Being here is he's been bigger than I can even articulate, and I think this brother's chosen to share a gift that he's been blessed with. I already knew I was the most ignorant person, but this brother never judged me. I came clean with my errant ways, never felt judged, and I'm leaving feeling better on so many levels, and I'm so thankful for him and his peers that showed up. So I'm looking forward to being back next week to gain some more knowledge, and I can pass that on to my grandchildren and hopefully anyone in my circle. But I'm going to grow with him if he allows me to, and I'm grateful.
Absolutely. All right. So with that, we want to be back here. I want to just share that with you all. And now we will get into the class. So the mitochondria. So if you remember, I already stated that in order for me to be able to share the mitochondria with you and to get the full respect and honor of the body and the mitochondria, especially the mitochondria, that I would have to do a class based dealing with the atomic structure of the universe. And so this is going to be a very important class to walk you through from creation all the way through to the mitochondria. So this is part one of the mitochondria. Okay. And so this is going to be an extremely powerful course, a lot of information, but I want you to get the gist, really get the understanding and gist of how much went into the creation of the mitochondria. Okay, this is super important. So to have honor for your body and everything going in it, right? We want to have honor for it. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get started now. So the atomic structure of the universe is what we're going to be going over, right? Some would say the atomic, but I say the atomic. And I want to be very clear with you all. I believe in creation evolution. Meaning, I believe, well, if you already in my creation series, and if you haven't watched it, you need to go to my Patreon and watch the video called Who and What is Yahweh and Who and What Are We? So if you understand the concept that I shared in those videos, you will understand what I'm saying is that from the beginning of time, which I believe was before the Big Bang, but most believe that Big Bang started everything. But I believe time started before that. But anyway, the Big Bang, what they call the Big Bang, right? That was, I believe, everything stemming up to the Big Bang and everything inside of it and all of the development of it was a learning process. So I believe as time expands and as time grows, every part was added onto and learned and or perfected and then moved to growing from there. I don't believe, for instance, I don't believe apes evolutioned or just became people. Let me say it that way. I don't believe it was like apes lived and then apes then became people. No, I don't believe that. I believe that it was necessary for the Elohim to create an ape in order to perfect that, in order to create a human being. So I believe that it was creative evolution from the beginning of time. So hydrogen had to be developed, in other words, in order that had to be perfected so that fusion was then mastered in order to create helium, lithium, beryllium, and so forth, right? This is what I'm saying when I say this had to be mastered or perfected or creative or creation evolution. So everything was created, but it took an evolution of time because there's nothing new under the sun. Everything has always been here, right? So matter has always been here, but not have been in the form. So you've been here since the beginning of time. So this creative process to be able to get to the point where we could put, or the Elohim could put themselves in a body was very important. And it was a step-by-step process in order to make that happen. Okay? So consciousness has always been here. Right? That which is what Yahweh means, or Ahaya means, that which is and will be has always been here. That's being. So this atomic structure of the universe, right? This is what we're going to talk about tonight to get to the mitochondria so you can honor and totally respect all the work that went into creating a mitochondria, the energy center of the body, right? So we want to definitely deal with this, okay? And it's going to help you understand glycosis, a lot of different things we might talk about today, which will be important. So universe atoms, hydrogen and helium. They say these two, when the Big Bang, quote unquote, took place, these two were created already. These were the only two atoms. There were quarks and so forth before that, of course, but these are the only two atoms that were in being. The whole universe was filled with hydrogen and helium only. All right. So this is key. So hydrogen, now let's understand how the Big Bang Theory came into being according to them. So it was a singularity, they called it, meaning everything was collapsed on the size of less smaller than a pin. Everything was collapsed. And then it exploded. They don't call it exploding. Some do, some don't. I would say it was an explosion, but it exploded and everything came out of that. And what was in it was hydrogen and helium, right, for the most part. Okay? Now, So I want you to get that. Hydrogen is, I call this the creation atom. Hydrogen is the creation atom, period. Everything, even helium, is made of hydrogen. We can go down to the quarks, we can go to that level, quantum level. But I want you to understand, when we come right above the quantum level, everything is made from hydrogen. Everything, I don't care what it is. Right? This is the building block. And I'm going to show you how beautifully simplified this is. This process is it's such a beautiful process, the creation process. Right? So hydrogen and helium have been already perfected at this juncture. Okay? And other things that were probably necessary for this time, but I'm just saying, I'm just using those. I'm just know those for a fact. Stars, which came later, right, are nuclear reactors. They came millions of years later, if not billions. I think millions. Millions of years later, it took for stars to form. Okay? So playing with the hydrogen and helium allowed for the stars to be created. They are nuclear reactors. I want you to get that. These are atom manufacturing factories. They manufacture atoms. Stars do. Okay? Now, and then they give off, through the manufacturing, they give off gamma rays and so forth. But we're going to get into that in a minute. Energy, in other words. All right? Now, when atomic nuclei touch, okay, when the nuclei of the atom, remember the atom has a barrier, it's got the electrons on the outside, and then inside of an atom, that is the proton and neutrons. That's the nuclei. When you can get that to touch, what that takes is fusion, right? So to do that, you have to have the high heat. That's why the stars, which our suns are stars as well, stars are necessary because that heat is allowing those atoms to touch in the inside, the protons, and go through the electron barrier. Okay? Very important. So one hydrogen and another hydrogen meet. They collide, right? And they inside and they hit the proton or neutron inside of the two atoms, right? And one, they pull out the positron, gets kicked out, and a neutrino gets kicked out. Right here, right? You see that? So a positron and a neutrino get kicked out, and what happens is it's a fusion of two hydrogens and one neutron. All right? So this is two hydrogens coming together and one neutron. And then, so one of the hydrogens becomes a neutron, basically. Right? Which becomes neutral. So you have one hydrogen, one neutron. That's eight. That's going to be that's not, the atomic mass will be 1, but the other number is going to be 2. And I can't remember the name of that number. I apologize. And then what happens is a hydrogen. So then what happens is when this comes together and this comes together, when you have the hydrogen, right, with the neutron, right, which is a balanced hydrogen, this is stable. They're equal, so they're stable. This is a stable hydrogen. And you have an unstable hydrogen coming together. Bang, and they hit each other, right? I can't say this is unstable because this is actually a stable form because they exist. They stay in existence, which is very rare. So hydrogen is a very rare atom, right? So then it's going to come in, boom, and they're going to hit each other again. It's going to give off a gamma ray. This is a gamma ray right here. It's going to give off a gamma ray. They're going to come together. You're going to have the 3, right? 1, 2, 3. The 2 hydrogen and 1 neutron. Okay, still. Then this is gonna happen again on another side. When these two come together, when the unstable form of helium, this is helium, unstable form. When the unstable form of helium or helium-3 come together, bang, right? They're gonna kick off two heliums, one helium on from this one and one helium from this one. It's hydrogen, not helium. I'm sorry. One hydrogen from this helium and one hydrogen from this helium. And then what's going to happen is they're going to fuse together and create stable helium. 1, 2, 3, 4. You see that? So two heliums and two neutrons. Sometimes you can have an extra neutron and it will still remain stable. And this happens regularly, but not in helium, but in other forms, right? In other I'll show you in a minute. In other atoms. Okay? This is how atoms are created. This is if you really understand how they're created, it's amazing. Right? So this is how atoms are created. Now, let's go to the next thing. Atomic steps. So what the theory was in the beginning was that like everything was created one atomic mass at a time. So remember we saw hydrogen 1, right? That was this. They would call that hydrogen 1. Hydrogen 1. Hydrogen 1 to hydrogen 2 right here, right? And then we see helium 3, which is unstable, right? To helium 4, which is stable. But there is no 5. This is what they couldn't find. They had to figure out how that skipped over to lithium, which was 6, right? To lithium 7. Now, this is very important. The missing 8, because without the missing 8, no carbon could be created. They did not find out about the missing 8 until 1950. So whether you look at that from the beginning of time, nobody knew how it came into being, or if you look at it from since the beginning of AD, when the Romans took over from 2000 until now, 2000 years, it was only 75 approximately years ago they figured this out. However you want to look at it, because you might say the Egyptians, they might have known it. Adam and them might have known it. I don't know. I ain't going to say whether they did or didn't. I haven't read those books to know yet. I haven't studied their scientific books to know whether or not. But it's a great possibility they did. I know they understood electricity because those pyramids are a full water and electric plants. Right? They're electric plants. So they had electricity on full-fledged scale. They had enough electricity to be able to fuel full cities. Right? So yeah, so don't get it confused. They might have known all this. Don't give me so I don't however you want to look at it. But remember it went into a dark age period. And during those dark age periods, they were destroying all books, all information, and everything. So it didn't come back until the 1950s. And they give Fred Hoyle credit for that. All right. So this step 8 was very important. And I'm going to show you the balance, how amazing creation is. It's amazing, right? So each one of these was a learning process to create it, right? Each one of these. And each one of these are specific and necessary for the things to go on in life, period. Okay? So then with beryllium, 9, 10, boron, 11, 12, carbon 13, nitrogen 14, nitrogen 15, and then oxygen 16. And this will go all the way to iron. Iron is the last thing that the stars can create until they explode or until they go into a black hole state. They implode, actually. And then some will supernova and some will implode and stay and go black hole. Right? And when they do, they push out all of the other metals. Right? This is how atoms Those are the atoms for the metals. This is how atoms are created on the universe, in the universes, or in this universe. Let me say it that way. It could be different in other universes. I doubt it because it's been so mastered. It's such a masterful system. There's no reason why, unless we're just experimenting over there to see what's up. You know what I'm saying? Unless the Elohim over there is experimenting just to see what a different type of universe could be. You know what I'm saying? But this universe is developed like this. Okay. Now it has rules and all of that. Now, nuclear reaction. This is what I was talking about with the Fred Hoyle. So, in order to make this happen, what he figured out was, and it was and I'm going to read this to you real quick, okay? And I wanted to read this to you at the beginning, but I'm going to read it now because I want you to really consider this point. Was the universe made for life? In other words, were physical laws and constants of nature somehow chosen to allow for complex life? In the past 65 years, science has gradually revealed a shocking lesson. By every right, you shouldn't be alive. None of us should. It was only too easy for something to have gone wrong. For instance, had gravity been a little stronger, or had carbon been slightly different, or had neutrinos not existed, in all cases, the result is disaster. And that's a key point. The result isn't just normal. The result is disaster. Okay? The result is disaster. Now, a dead universe devoid of chemistry, life, and consciousness, yet somehow through incredible luck, divine intervention, or otherwise, we dodged every bullet to enjoy a universe with life. Among possible universes, ours is among the rare few where life of any kind is possible. Against all odds, the universe is a place where life is possible. To what we can ascribe this great fortune. How can it be explained? Quote, what really interests me is whether God could have created the world any differently. In other words, whether the requirement of logical simplicity admits a margin of freedom, end quote, Albert Einstein. Why is the universe the way it is? Could it have been any other way? So, this is how much of a balance the universe is on, right? Now, I want you to get this. So, we got helium, beryllium, or helium, two heliums create what Fred Hoyle figured out. This is where we left off. I'm sorry. What Fred Hoyle figured out, and let me go back just in case y'all didn't see it. Y'all have to see this. I dealt with that already. But these two heliums come together. A hydrogen fused into a hydrogen. Hydrogen fused into a hydrogen. Right? Creates a neutron and a hydrogen. Kicks off a neutrino and a positron. Now, once this is unstable. This is two. Hydrogen 1, hydrogen 2. This hydrogen 1, when a hydrogen 1 and a hydrogen 2 hit each other, they create a gamma ray. When these three hit, right? When that happens, a gamma ray kicks off. It produces energy, right? A gamma ray. Then what's going to happen is this is going to come together. There's going to be three, right? Two deuterons and a neutron. Two hydrogens and a neutron. That's going to be helium 3, unstable helium. This is going to happen on another side as well. When two threes come together, bang, right? This happened in seconds, though. This is not like they're waiting. This happened in seconds. Bang, they hit. This knocks off a hydrogen 1 and another hydrogen 1, right? It knocks those off, and then it creates, he loses 1 and this one loses 1. And it creates helium 4. And helium 4 is here. I want you to see that, okay? So it goes, you see it grows. When these two hit, it creates a neutrino and a positron. and creates this. Then when these two hit, it creates a gamma ray that's bigger than a neutrino and a positron, right? And then when these two hit, it creates helium, and then it what? Those are bigger than the gamma ray, the positron, and the neutrino. And then it creates helium. So everything's getting bigger. Even though you can't see atoms, atoms have mass size. They have size. They get bigger and bigger as they go, right? So helium is bigger than hydrogen, 1 and 2, right? So they get bigger and bigger also. So again, we went up the atomic steps. Hydrogen 1 to hydrogen 2, helium 3, helium 4, lithium 6. Remember, 5 is missing. Again, 5 is missing. 8 is missing, right? Which we're talking about now. We go to beryllium, boron 11, carbon 12, nitrogen 14, oxygen 16. And we want to be, or 15, and we want to go oxygen 16. And like I said, it goes all the way up to inside of a star that's living, that's still there. It's going to create all the way up to iron. Fe, which is iron. Okay? Now, let's continue. Carbon 12 is here, right? So we have 4 hydrogens, or 4 heliums, which is going to kick into a gamma. We're going to get a gamma from that. So helium 4 coming together kicks into a gamma, and we got beryllium 8, which is the unstable form. This is only available. Let me tell you, this is how serious this portion is. This is how real it is. That helium 4 or beryllium 8, beryllium 8 only lasts like a fraction of a second because it's unstable. That's why they thought it didn't exist, right? But to create carbon, which we're made out of, you would not be here. It would be impossible. The physical form for that to take place, there had to be a carbon 12. It would be impossible to make carbon 12 without this brief state of beryllium 8. Right? And he knew the frequency and everything. Like, this is amazing to find. I'm not saying he's the first one that found it in history, right? If we go all the way back. All I'm saying is, once the knowledge was lost, if it was lost and somebody had found it before, it's amazing to find this right here, right? So 4 and 4 come together, that created 8. 8 hits 4, bang, it creates a gamma, and carbon 12 is created. This is a stable form of carbon. 6 protons and 6 neutrons. So its atomic mass is 6, but its number is going to be 12. Right? So when they say carbon 12, they're talking about because it has 6 protons and 6 neutrons, which equals 12. All right? Now, this is the periodic table. This is ingenious. This is an ingenious map right here, right? Why? Because this table is in order. It's called the periodic table because it is the order or period in which each one of these atoms was created in order. This is how powerful creation is. That's why I said it's too perfect. It was created. That's why I said it's creative evolution. Had to learn how to make hydrogen before you could learn how to make helium, before the Elohim learned to make helium, before Elohim learned to make lithium, before they learned to make beryllium. But it's ingenious, right? But here's the beautiful thing. All of it is hydrogen. Everything is hydrogen. There's no way around it. Because it's always how many hydrogens you have. So this number 1 means there's one hydrogen, right? This is stable hydrogen. 2 here is helium, but it's letting you know like 1.08. So this is 1 hydrogen. 2 is helium. 2, the atomic mass. Let me show you what I mean. So the atomic mass is here. This 1 is the atomic mass. Okay? Up underneath this hydrogen, where you see, let me show you the big. This is good. They got a big one. This 1 is atomic mass. Underneath where it says hydrogen, this 1.008, that means there's 1 neutron. It's 1 neutron. Okay? I'm sorry, it means there's no neutrons because there's 1 already. I'm sorry, there's 0 neutrons, no neutrons. So when we're looking at this one, we're looking at this. This is the stable form of hydrogen. This is stable. This is the stable form, right? So 1 means there's no neutron. That's very rare. You ain't gonna see that. I call this the creation atom, in my opinion. I ain't gonna lie. I call it the creation atom. It's amazing. Hydrogen. That's why Einstein was so tuned into it. And they took something beautiful. This is how you know how crazy the human zoo is. Because they took something as beautiful as hydrogen that creates everything on the planet and learn how to make it so it would destroy everything on the planet. That's how mentally you take something that is that beautiful and the only thing you thinking about is how can I make it destroy? You're not even thinking what you could do with hydrogen to make the world a beautiful place. You're just thinking about what you could do with it to kill everything on the planet. That is crazy. That's mentally ill. Feel what I'm saying? That's a mental illness. So hydrogen with 1, so that's the atomic mass. So now when we see helium over here, we see 2 at the top. That means there's 2 protons, right? 2 protons, 1, 2, right? Even here, 1, 2. But we know that the solid state form is 4. Why? Because we see here at the bottom 4 because it has 2 neutrons. So there's 2 protons, 2 neutrons. This is the perfection of this. This is how beautiful this is. This chart is excellent, right? And I mean, not just the chart. This is how the creation created this chart. That is the science behind creation. This is power. I mean, I'm telling you, this is extremely powerful. So lithium, right, is 3, 6. So it's got almost 7 neutrons. But I told you sometimes they'll have an extra neutron. But it don't. It's like 6. So lithium, even though it's 3 on the atomic mass, meaning it's going to have 3 protons. But it's got 6 total because you're adding up the neutrons and the protons. So it's balanced. Beryllium is 4, but remember 8 it fleets, right? There would be no carbon without 8 though, so we love beryllium 8, right? But I'm saying beryllium 4, so 9, beryllium 9 is 5. There's 5 neutrons. It's 4 protons and 5 neutrons. That's the stable form of beryllium. Right? That's the stable form. Okay? Boron, 5 and 10. We saw that, right? Boron. So when we go back, you'll see these are 1 atomic mass, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boron is 10. So they're counting here the holes, right? Helium 4. They're including the neutrons. Lithium 6, right? Lithium 7, which we know is the stable, right? Beryllium 8, they never even knew existed, but it does. Beryllium 8 exists. Beryllium 9, boron 10, right? We just seeing that, right? Boron 11. Okay? So let's look at this real quick. Boron 10, 81. So they might be considering boron 11 the stable, but I'm not sure. Carbon 12, right? Carbon 12, 6, but it's got the other 6. Carbon 12, right? Nitrogen, 714, stable, right? Then we hit oxygen, which is 8 as far as protons, but it's got 16 neutrons, 15.999, so they consider that 16. They round it up. That's 16. Okay, this is where we left off, right? Fluorine is also created by the stars, 9, 18, almost 19. Neon, 10, 20, right? And we come over here, sodium, 11, 22, right? You didn't know sodium had an atom, right? Yes, sodium has an atom. So, right, sodium, 22, is balanced. Magnesium, 12, is created in the stars. These atoms are created in the stars. Magnesium, 24, right? Then we jump over. 13, aluminum, created in the stars, but you're not to eat it. You're not to deal with it. That's a metal that's active metal. You need to definitely stay away from that as far as having it in your food and putting your food on it. It is too, the chemical compound, it comes together too fast, right? We don't want to do that. 13 and 26, really it looks like 27 is aluminum. Silicon, 14, 28, it's balanced. They're all balanced. These are stable forms. Everything you see on this periodic chart is going to be the stable form. Phosphorus, 1530. 16 is sulfur, 1632. Chlorine, 1735. Argon is 1839. Right? What's that? 36. That should be 36. That's a lot. 17 should be 34. That's correct. That 18? 18 plus 18 is what? 36? Yeah. And that's 39. That's heavy right there. And that's the stable form of argon, though. I can't argue with it. They're saying potassium is 19 and 39. That makes more sense. Maybe that's 30. It's 39 they got over there for argon, though, also. All right. And then we're going to go calcium, 20 and 40. Right? Potassium. All this stuff is made in the stars. All the atoms to produce it. Right? There's a potassium atom. A calcium atom. Right? 21 scandium. 2144. Titanium. 2247. These are why they're considered rare. No, these aren't rare. These are not as rare. So titanium isn't as rare as gold. You understand what I'm saying? Because the stars are continually making them. But I'm going to show you in a minute what I mean. 23, vanadium, 23 and 50. 24 and 51 is chromium. And then manganese, 25 and 54, right? Now, iron is 26 55. Okay. So this is the last thing that the stars are going to make. They're going to make these products all the way up to iron. Okay. Once that star explodes, it's going to create everything else on this chart. These things are rare. Okay. That's why they consider them rare. All right. And everything necessary to form molecules, which we're going to talk about soon, next. Everything designed to create molecules are on that chart. All right. Now, I want you to understand this. These are going to be called chemical bonds here that we're going to be talking about. Okay. These are going to be chemical bonds, but I want you to understand this. So this is helium, right? One proton, and it has one electron. Okay, so we see the one here, that's the proton. The electron is not listed here to let you know. The electrons are more so here. This number up top. Okay, where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's going to be more the number for the electrons, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And so but it has one electron. So everything that's in this line here, unless it's this 1, 1, 2, 2, it might be this number on the left. It's one of these two numbers. But everything is going to have one electron. So hydrogen, we know is going to have one because it's 1 and 1. We know that's going to be 1. Period. Right? We'll find out in a second. I'll know in a second. So what's this? Helium. Right? Helium has 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and it also has 2 electrons. I might be wrong. But it's one. I remember it was a number I could read to be able to tell that, but I can't remember which one. I'm wrong because this got 2 electrons, unless they just saying it's a strange form or whatever. But I don't think so. I can't remember. Either which way, it's got 2 electrons, right, on the outside, and it's going to become important in a minute. And remember, I know we're talking about the mitochondria, but all of this is inside the mitochondria. So I want you to understand when we get to the mitochondria, how energy is being produced. It's going to be it's a powerful piece, right? So now we get to lithium, right? And yes, it has 1, and I'm talking about on the outer. This is the outer, because this is where the bonds take place. I'm not talking about the inner electrons. So it has 1 on the outer, on the outside, right? So it has lithium has 1. Yeah, it's in the list of 1 too. It has 1 on the outer ring. Okay, that's important. I want you to get that. Lithium has 1 on the outer ring. Next will come what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is beryllium, I believe. Yes, 8. This is beryllium. Was actually 9. So this is beryllium 9. It has 2 on the outside. Where does this land? Let's look at it. Beryllium lands here. See, it's 2. Yeah. Yeah, it's this number up top, I believe. I think this is just, I can't remember how that's working. We'll figure it out in a minute. I'll let you know. On the outside. And I'm dealing with the outside for a specific reason, which you'll understand in a minute. So next we're at what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I believe this is boron. Yeah, it is. Boron's 10. Boron 10. So it's got 3 on the outside. Okay, 3 on the outside. 3 connectors. Okay, let me see what boron lands. Nah, I got to figure out these numbers. But yeah, it's got 3 on the outside. Just remember that for now. There's a way to be able to tell on this chart how many it has. I just don't remember, so excuse me for my ignorance. Or my forgetfulness on that one. 3 on the outside, right? Then we got what's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is oxygen. No. I'm sorry. This is carbon. This is carbon. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside of carbon. Then we got welcome, Jerry. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the outside of this was carbon. This is carbon right here with 4 on the outside. Then we've got what's that? 12? Yeah, that's 12. 6 is 12. Yeah, that's 12. So then we have this is nitrogen right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is going to be 14. And they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the outside. This is oxygen right here. Okay. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm going to stop here. But I want you to understand how this works. Because to understand, to really get and understand the mitochondria, you're going to have to understand, or to respect it, rather. You're going to have to understand the beauty of this, okay? So that was all the way up to oxygen we went to, right? Which is 16. Oxygen 16, or atomic mass 8, okay? But the reason they use these numbers 16 and 7 and 9 and 8 and all that, because that is how you know if it's stable or not. And that's very important because there's different levels of stability. Okay? Now, molecular structure. I want you to understand, we dealt with atoms. We're going to come back and deal with atoms a little bit more, but we dealt with atoms. We dealt with the Big Bang, and we dealt with creation, evolution. Creation, evolution, not evolution as they said, where things just become. No, it's created over time. So it's creation, evolution. Right? Because it was a learning process. Now we're dealing with molecules. I'm going to deal with that a little bit. When electrons touch, right? So the hydrogen atom, right? There's a proton and an electron. There's no neutron, remember? It's one. So when electrons touch, right? This is hydrogen, two hydrogens, right? This hydrogen has one proton and one electron. This hydrogen has one electron and one proton and one electron. They're sharing on the outside. When two atoms come together, remember, to create another atom in the stars, you have fusion. They had to hit the proton. They're not hitting the proton. They're touching. And this creates a chemical reaction. So whenever you touch something, you're creating a chemical reaction. I want you to get that, all right? But you're not touching the protons of your body. You're touching the electrons. Even when we're doing the meditations, the mudras. So I say you don't understand the power of the mudras. Those are electrons. You understand? You're creating electricity. Right, which is a healing modality. So when you do these shared electrons, you're looking at, so when these come together, they create a hydrogen molecule, or what we know as a hydrogen gas. They create that. That's H2. That lower 2. You see that 2 down there? Sometimes I have it big next. No, I think it's lower always when it's like this. I think so. H2. So this is hydrogen. Now, this is helium, right? 2 protons, which I showed y'all earlier, how it was created, how helium is created in the stars. So 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons. That's a helium atom. Okay? Now, when hydrogen, but remember, these protons are what? These were hydrogen. Everything is created from hydrogen. So now, when electrons touch again, hydrogen, 2 hydrogens touching an oxygen on the electron, touching it. They're not touching protons. They're not hitting protons like we showed earlier. This right here, they're touching the electrons on the outside. Only on the outside. Right? Then we have water. So when 2 hydrogen atoms touch an oxygen atom or connect to, that becomes H2, right? 2 hydrogens, 1 oxygen atom is oxygen. Now, if we want oxygen like your blood carries, that's when 2 oxygens touch each other. That's O2. That's the oxygen molecule. So when 2 atoms of oxygen touch, that is a oxygen molecule that we breathe, that the blood carries, right? Or what we call spirit. But there's nitrogen in the spirit. There's hydrogen in the spirit. There's all of these things in it, right? Which we're going to talk about in a minute. Now, carbon 12. Okay? Remember, helium 4. When helium 4, this is how it's made atom-wise. This is how the atoms are made. When helium 4, the atom helium, which is the stable version, right? Two protons and 2 neutrons. When they hit with a carbon 12, which is 6 neutrons and 6 protons, when they hit bang, what gamma is shot off, right, which is energy. Gamma is shot off, is created actually. Gamma is created or released. And oxygen is oxygen 16, which we saw on the periodic chart. And we just saw here, this is oxygen 16 as well, right? They're just not showing you everything in the middle here, right? I showed you here. Oxygen 16 is, I believe, is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. This is oxygen 16, right? So that's what we're looking at right there. So now, oxygen 16 is created. Okay, in the stars. This happens in the stars. Okay, very important. Now, helium capture reactions. So when carbon 12 and helium come together, they create oxygen 16. 8 protons, 8 neutrons. When helium and oxygen hit in the stars, this is in the stars, not they're touching. When they all hit, they create neon 20, 10 protons, 10 neutrons. Right? When neon 20 and helium hit, they create magnesium 12 proton 24, magnesium 24, 12 protons, 12 neutrons. 4 plus 20 is 24. And they're going to share and break, right? Then when we get to 16, we see here silicon is formed by carbon 12 and oxygen 16 hitting. 16, 16. When we got oxygen and oxygen hitting, not touching, but actually being in the furnace of a sun, which is a star. Bang, it's hitting, right? And now we end up with 16, 16, 32, which is silicon is 31. So it's 16 protons, 15 neutrons, and it kicks out a hydrogen, which is 1. Do you see the mathematical genius of this? 1. Hydrogen is 1. It is so perfect. Creation is so perfect. It's ridiculous. It is if you when you study creation evolution, your level of respect for the Elohim will go beyond, or Yahweh will go beyond where you are. I mean, you can't even imagine how high this is. I mean, it's just perfect. And we're going to talk about more perfection because you have to understand how wonderfully made you are. That's why I say, do you know, we disrespect our bodies because we do not understand how much work went into creating. It was billions of years of study and research and trial and error to make our bodies. Billions. It was a million years where it was just hydrogen and helium in space. Millions of years. Before a star could be created, a factory could be created to be able to do this. Millions of years. This is I'm telling you, it is amazing. Right? 60. This is so perfect. Then 28, silicon 28 and 28, right? So that's what, 54 or 56, right? Yeah, 56. 56, and iron is 26 and 30, which equals 56. It's perfect. That is the last form that's going to be made on here, right? So this is going to be the last one made. Now, and the star then has to explode from there. Okay? So fine tuning. This is where we get. This is so deep right here. This is where it gets so deep. In theoretical physics, okay, fine tuning is the process in which parameters of a model must be adjusted very precisely in order to fit within certain observations. So this is super important right here, right? So fine tuning is a process in which the parameters of a model must be adjusted very precisely in order to fit with certain observations. This has led to the discovery that the fundamental constants and quantities fall into such an extraordinarily precise range that if it did not, the origin and evolution of conscious agents in the universe, notice they recognize as conscious. They know helium is conscious. That's Yah. They know hydrogen is conscious. They know lithium is conscious. Everything is living and it has consciousness. The same conscious you got. The origin and evolution of conscious agents in the universe would not be permitted. It would not be. It would be impossible. So this is the perfection. That's how perfect it has to be. Fine tuning. Now we're going to deal with that. If, for example, the strong nuclear force were 2% stronger than it is, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Therefore, if the coupling constant representing its strength were 2% larger, while the other constants were left unchanged, diprotons would be stable according to Davies. Hydrogen would fuse into them instead of deuterium and helium. So in other words, if these were stable instead of disappearing, they hit, they go, and they disappear. Hit, go, do what they're supposed to do and disappear. If they stayed stable, all it has to be is 2% off. And these would say stable, you would not have helium. Therefore, we couldn't create lithium. Therefore, it couldn't be created. You got what I'm saying? Down the chart. Couldn't be created boron and so forth, right? All the way down the chart. This would drastically alter the physics of stars and presumably preclude the existence of life similar to what, This would preclude the existence of life similar to what we observe on Earth. The diproton's existence would short circuit the slow fusion of hydrogen into deuterium. Hydrogen would fuse so easily that it's likely that all the universe's hydrogen will be consumed in the first few minutes after the Big Bang. That's how perfect it had to be. This diproton argument is disputed by other physicists who calculate that as long as the increase in strength is less than 50%, it don't matter. That's hard enough in itself. Stellar fusion could occur despite the existence of stable diprotons. In theoretical physics, fine-tuning is the process in which parameters of a model must be adjusted very precisely in order to fit with certain observations. But that's not the only one, because if the beryllium-8 didn't stay as just that brief second, as long as it did, it would be impossible for carbon to be created. That's why they thought it didn't exist. They didn't know where it was. They couldn't figure out how carbon even existed on the planet again until 1950. That's how real this is, right? Fine-tuning is the process which parameters of the model must be adjusted very precisely in order to fit within certain observations. This had led to the discovery that fundamental constants and quantities fall into such an extraordinarily precise range that if it did not, the origin and evolution of conscious agents in the universe would not be permitted. Now, the four fundamental forces of nature. Balanced forces. Each one of these is balanced perfectly. There's four fundamental forces of nature. Electromagnetism, right? Weak interaction, strong interaction. Weak interaction is like repelling. Okay? Strong interaction is attracting. And gravitation, which you know what gravity is. I don't have to go into that. So, electromagnetism, right? If this number was off by one, if it went down one, if it went to 95 instead of 96, 0.95 instead of 96, there would be no carbon. That Hoyle state, or what they call the Hoyle state, which is what I was talking about with beryllium 8, would not be possible. It would be impossible. 1 point off. If it goes above 1.04, same. That's how perfect it is. It's in a range of 8.08, really. Yeah, 0.08. That's all it needs for life not to exist, period. 0.08. Can you dig that? Gravity, right? If it's above, if it were below, if it was above, is it above 0? It goes no, below. If it went below 0 or less than 10 times -36, no structures, no long-lived stars would exist at all. It would be impossible, right? Weak force, 50% change, right? No free oxygen. And if it was a 5 times change, if it was greater than 5, right? No rebound. Because it needs to be at 1. Strong force, 0.9, right? Only if it, we talking about 10 points, right? Stars don't shine. Well, really like 10.1%, kind of like. And here, if it's 3.7% or 10%, right? If it's 3.7% change above, no hydrogen. That means no life would exist, period. None. Just on this. That's how close to balance everything has to be. It has to be perfect. That's how amazing creation is. Right? And just to show this on a map so you can see it. This is the diproton disaster that they was talking about. Meaning there will be no hydrogen. No helium. All of it would have got ate up. Here's the balance. This is where we are, balanced wise. If it hits this line over here, right, or if it goes up above into this purple, that's it. That's what we're sitting on. You see that? Do you see that? That's how balanced it is. That is how balanced, delicately balanced life is. Period. That's the perfection. So this was perfected. Creation was a perfection process. Now, chemical structure. So whenever I'm talking about chemical structure, we're talking about molecules. We're back to these were atoms we were talking about, okay? All this is dealing with atoms. Well, not this part really, but all this up here was dealing with atoms right here. And then I went into molecules, but this was more fine tuning. So that's not true. Now we're coming back to molecules, okay? Chemical structure is molecules. So 2 hydrogen atoms and an oxygen is water, right? Blood, you see this? Iron, right? Nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen, carbon, hydrogen, right? Hydrogen, oxygen. This is life. So it's carrying oxygen, right? Hydrogen everywhere. You see hydrogen everywhere. And then you have iron in the middle with nitrogen. That's your blood makeup. Apple skin, hydrogen, oxygen, oxygen, hydrogen, right? Oxygen, hydrogen, oxygen, hydrogen. This is the breakdown. I just wanted you to see that. Okay, now we're dealing with life now. Now we're gonna move forward into the cells. Okay, so all this time, all these products had to first of all come into understanding how to create, then come into being. Now, once they came into being, now after millions of years, this was billions of years rather, I believe. Now you have planets being formed, and you had these single cell life, or like amoeba on the planet. And this is a deep, I'm not even going to go, I'm not going all the way into that because that's a deep course by itself. Just understanding that process. But I want you to understand this is a single cell prokaryotic being. Okay? Now, you see it has the pili, the plasmid, the ribosomes, cytoplasm, plasma membrane, cell wall, capsule, right? And the bacterial flagellum. This allowed it to move through the water. The cilia, these out here, right? The plasmid, or the pili, rather, and the bacterial flagellum allowed it to move. No eyes, it doesn't have nothing yet, right? But this process, they started creating eyes out of the necessity to have eyes. When you understand creation, what you call it? So the Elohim, this was the first type of being that life or Elohim could be inside of physically. You understand what I'm saying? This was a moving motion where they could move, do stuff in the space. Now, prokaryotes, nucleoid, okay? Cell wall in some eukaryotes. We have that too, but this is a cell wall. Capsule, some prekaryotes, and flagellum. So no prekaryotes have cell walls, okay, really. They have an outer cell wall, but they don't have cell walls around the organelles. They don't have around the organelles, I guess you could say. Hopefully I'm saying that right. So the eukaryotes, we're eukaryotes, okay? We come from this, but we're eukaryotes. We're the second level. We're inside of this group here. Okay, so they have a cell membrane here, right? Both got the cell membrane. Both have ribosomes. We both got ribosomes. But everything was perfected over here, I'm telling you. Bacteria, I'm going to show you in a minute. But it's perfect. It's perfected. They're way wiser. These things are geniuses. Prokaryotes are geniuses. All right. But anyway, we're going to continue. Ribosomes, chloroplast, we have that. The prokaryote doesn't. Golgi, we have that. Mitochondrion, we have that. The prokaryotes do not. They have a nucleoid. We have a mitochondrion. Okay, you see another one here, right? Right there. Cytoplasm membrane, nucleus and nucleoid, right? So we do have the nucleus, but we don't have a nucleoid. We have a nucleus here, right? And then, let me see what else. The endoplasmic reticulum, we got that. Okay. So this is how our bodies are. This is the cell, right? The cell. But the blood cells, our blood cells, they start as eukaryotes and become prokaryotes. They won't say that they do. They'll say that they'll still classify them as eukaryotes, but they'll tell you straight up that they lose their cell walls, right? They lose the mitochondria and all that. And the mature is a prokaryote. And the reason being is because of cellular respiration and the way it does cellular respiration. Even though this does it with air, it does an aerobic, and our cells do it anaerobic through glycolysis. Through glycolysis. However, the cell respiration, that's to get in the nutrients and out the waste. But the blood cell carries the oxygen. So it's an aerobic entity. It's just the fact that it uses an anaerobic process in order to get the nutrients in, right? Whereas they use an aerobic because this is a single cell item. So when it's out here in the water, it's pulling in its nutrients like a blood cell out of the water. That's why they create a petri dish and put bacteria or whatever in it, and then it's eating that. That's how it eats, just like your blood does, glycogen, or through glycolysis, right? Now, right here, okay, so we've seen that already. Now, prokaryotic cell, the pilus again, capsule, right? Cell wall, right here, it only got one cell wall. Plasma membrane, okay? Nucleoid DNA, this is its DNA right here, the nucleoid. Cytoplasm, ribosomes, and flagellum, right? Now, the eukaryotic cell, again, we got the nucleus and nucleolus inside the nucleus, rather. We've got the endoplasmic reticulum. We've got the smooth and rough version, it's saying. Cytosol, ribosomes, cytoskeleton, mitochondria, peroxisome, Golgi body, and lysosomes. This is in every cell, right? Right? Now, timeline of life. This is deep right here. So, what happened first? The formation, 4.5 billion years ago, the formation of the earth. That was the original. That's why I say when it says in the beginning, it should not. It's better sheet, which means in a beginning, not in the beginning. That's number one. So in a beginning. So the earth been here for 4.5 billion years. 3.8 billion simple cells or prokaryotes were on the earth, right? You got to understand how I wish I had time to really walk you through the prokaryotes. You'll respect bacteria so much. You will be talking to your bacteria in your gut. You'll be feeding it properly. You'll be doing if you understood and studied prokaryotes and the history of them. They are geniuses. Geniuses. Photosynthesis, right? 3.0 billion years ago was created, right? Created. Complex cells, 2.0 billion complex cells are eukaryotes. 1.0 multicellular life, billion years ago, multicellular life, right? Was created. 6 million years ago, simple animals. So we're Johnny come latelys, really. Like the world, like as far as the eukaryote, or not the eukaryote, but as far as the mammals and all of that, we're Johnny come latelys compared to everything else. So we're like the babies of the planet. Simple animals, fishing. I can't say that because we're Elohim, so we've been here forever. But we as far as the body, as far as the physical form is concerned, 600 million simple animals, 500 million fish and proto-amphibians, 400 million insects and seeds, 300 million reptiles, mammals, birds, 25 million primates and apes, and then 2.5 million Homo. And if you notice this, if you study this and understand it, it's in the exact same order as Genesis, the first chapter. It's in the exact same order. All right? So this is deep right here. Now, let's continue. Evolution and classification of life. So you have the bacteria domain, right? So this is prokaryote. Everything started from a prokaryote, okay? So bacteria remained a prokaryote, okay? So all of these things are coming from the prokaryote. The archaea also remained the same way. It's a prokaryote. Then eukaryotes came into being, not we. And the animal kingdom is prokaryote. The fungus kingdom is a prokaryote. I mean eukaryote. We're eukaryote. The fungus kingdom is eukaryote, and the plant kingdom is a eukaryote. It's eukaryotic. Okay? This is key right here. This is key. So now, the evolution of humans from single cells today. So you're going to see right here, it started as the prokaryote being 3.5 billion years ago. Prokaryotes. Abiogenesis. Origin of life. This is when you, in the script, you're going to see it says the water, it was like things were teeming or swarming in the waters. That's this. That's the first thing, that's the first creature that's going to be created. The waters were teeming or swarming. That's these. Right? The viruses, bacteria. Oh no, viruses they said were pre-cellular life based on RNA. That came later, I think, though. We'll talk about that later. I ain't rolling with that. So this came bacteria. That's why they got a question mark next to it. Because I don't think that, I think we created those. Bacteria, archaea, and they could have been created, like I said, cancer, for instance, to save humanity. I mean, to save the planet from humans, from the humans living in the human zoo. Bacteria, archaea, eukaryotes. These were the first eukaryotes, right? Then we move, like we did before. We get to the these are deep animal. I don't know how to say their name, but they're deep. This is when things started. No, that's these. But it's because of them that eyes were able to be formed. See, this right here, these were, you got to understand if you understood the genius behind these things. See, I believe, I'm going to tell you the truth. I believe the Elohim are up in here. Like when you talk about Yahweh, it's not something big, it's the smallest. That's why Yah is everywhere. You can't escape. That stuff is in your body. Bacteria is in your body everywhere. There's no escape from Yahweh. Consciousness, these things are so intelligent and smart. They're controlling everything. Bacteria controls everything. They control everything. Your thoughts, what you eat, everything. I'm telling you. They ain't no joke. Right? When you really start, I wish I had time. I don't have time to go. I'm gonna do a class on it because we gotta delve into that. That's gonna be deep. That would be deep. So the sea sponges came, right? Age of invertebrates, as it says, sea sponges. Okay. Then came the protozoic, the protozoans, right? Now these flatworms, they needed eyes. This was when it was necessary for eyes to start being developed at this juncture here. And I can't remember why, but they were. Okay? Worms, mollusks, crustaceans, all that, the insects. So you see all of this is going right where everything started in the water, right? And then you see things moving out of the water. That's scripture. That's right. Genesis 1, I'm telling you. Right? It was just faster than because it had already been mastered. It had already been perfected. So for it to take a day, 2 days, yeah, it will be easy then. That's just like if you're creating something for the first time, it takes a long time to create it. But once it's created, you can do it on the fly. It's the same difference. You understand what I'm saying? Then Picala, right? Then the jawless fish. So the fish came. I'm gonna continue. Then look, amphibians stepped into it. You can see the evolution, but it's not that the flatworm became the Picala. It was what we learned. This is the Elohim. What the Elohim learned from developing the flatworm. now could develop the Pakala. What we learned, and that's the thing, once Elohim learned is what made it grow. The amphibians, right? Then you see these look like alligators almost, right? These are reptiles. Then from reptiles, boom, mammals came. We got the shark, right? All non-primate animals. Then came the dinosaur age during this time, and then extinction, right? Age of mammals kicked in then, right? There's when we came, age of mammals, all the way through all these different types of Homo sapiens, or Homo erectus, I guess you could call them, right? Until we get to us, Homo sapien. But each one of these were a creation getting better and better at each stage. I want you to do something. I'm going to show you something that's deep. I believe the leaves were even used as and the flowers and stuff. Because I want you to sit in nature and I want you to look at flowers, I want you to look at leaves and all of that. And I promise you, you're going to see like they're in the physical form of different animals and insects and things on the planet. I believe those were used as the images to create different items on the planet. But that's my opinion. I can't prove that. This is my opinion. But I'm telling you, it makes sense when you start looking at them. Look at them. Really look at the leaves. Literally look at the flowers. You're going to blow you away. You're going to be like, wow. Just like the monkey flower. You ever seen a monkey flower? If you go look that up, it's called the monkey flower. It look just like monkeys. Right? That's just a strong example. But I'm saying it's subtle. But you'll see them on different plants and leaves. Okay, so everything is a complex form of hydrogen. Why? Because the atomic number. So carbon is 6 hydrogens. Oxygen is 8 hydrogens. Hydrogen is 1 hydrogen. Nitrogen is 7 hydrogens. They're going to say protons, but you have to have that many hydrogens to come together in order for it to happen. Everything is hydrogen. Nitrogen, 7 hydrogens. Silicon, I think that is. No, that's sulfur. I'm sorry. 16. Potassium, 15. Not potassium. Phosphorus, 15. Potassium, 19. Magnesium, 12. Calcium, 20. Fe, iron, is 26. Hydrogens. What's this? Sodium, 11. And chlorine, 17. Right? Now, it's telling you what they do also. So, carbon, major constituent of cell material and proteins, nucleic acid, fats, which is lipids, carbohydrates, and others, right? So anytime we dealing with cellulose, our body, everything we eat, carbon, right? That's carbon attached to that. Oxygen, right? Organic compound, we know what oxygen does. That's spirit, right? It's a portion of it anyway. Hydrogen, which is a portion of spirit as well. Nitrogen, a portion of spirit also. What's it? Sulfur, proteins and coenzymes. Phosphorus, nucleic acids, phospholipids, which is phosphor fats, teichoic acid, coenzymes. Right? That's phosphates. Yeah. Potassium, major inorganic cation, compatible solute, enzyme cofactor. Magnesium, enzyme cofactor, bound to cell wall, membrane and phosphate esters, including nucleic acids and ATP. Calcium, right? So look how important magnesium is. Did you see that? Including nucleic acids and ATP. Phosphate esters, bound to cell wall membrane, right? This is super important. Calcium, enzyme cofactor, bound to cell wall. Iron, cytochromes, ferrodexin, FES, proteins, enzyme cofactor. And then we have again, what is this? Na. Is that niacin? No. Sodium, I'm tripping. Sodium 11, involved in transport and energy transduction. That's why I always say it's important to have sodium, but you don't need salt to get sodium. Sodium is important, but salt is not. And then chlorine, major inorganic ion. Okay? Anion, excuse me. Major inorganic anion, not ion. Those are two different things, very important. Opposites. Composition of air. Nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon 9. This is spirit. This is what's comprised in spirit. That's what it's saying. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, 0.9% argon. Other gases at 0.1%, carbon dioxide, ozone, hydrogen, neon, helium. That's all spirit. Got it? That's all spirit. So with that, do we have any questions before we close out? This was a good class. I really like this one. But I wanted you to get that because when we talk about the mitochondria and everything that went into developing the mitochondria, now you can understand our next class of what is the mitochondria, what's it comprised of, and then we can go from there, right? Because I think I'm going to do a nice little series on this mitochondria. But you should have got a lot out of this class. So do we have any questions on anything before we close out? If there are no questions, I am going to close out. Sorry about that. Any questions on anything before we close out? All right. If there's no question, I appreciate everybody's time. See you all at the top of your health journey. Peace.
For the rest of this video and more videos like these, you can join us at patreon.com/health class. Again, that's patreon.com/health class. And join one of our paid tiers. Any of them will do. And you join one of those tiers, you can watch the rest of these videos as well as all the other videos that I produced, including my former health classes, which is 4 to 8 hours of information that can help you on your health journey to the top. All right. So I look forward to sharing that adventure with you. I look forward to seeing you at the top of your health journey. Peace.